The Clash of Dragons scenery is the very first legendary scenery released on the global server. Yeah, the Chinese got a few of them before us, but we finally got our own. Now, that transition that you saw was not some fancy transition that I added. That is gonna happen every time you select this scenery. That's just one of the 6 differences between legendary sceneries and, our other normal sceneries. I love this transition. It's pretty simple, but it just makes the scenery feel premium. It's also super satisfying and has its own sound effect. The second difference between normal sceneries and legendary sceneries is this selection icon. It's animated. None of the other icons move or have any effects. This one has a little baby dragon come out, zap the top of the palace, and then there's a shine that goes across the gold at the bottom of it. Also, the other ones just have this gray base on them, but this one has the gold plus the giant dragon badge right on the front. Now, the most obvious thing about this scenery is how huge it is. The size is insane. Nothing like we've ever seen in a scenery before. Now, the patch notes mention that legendary sceneries are going to be at least 6 times bigger than normal sceneries. But I looked at this and I was like, really? That's only 6 times bigger? So I wanted to actually compare other sceneries to this scenery. And what I found is that the Clash of Dragons scenery is nearly 4.5 football fields wide. Or should I say, football sceneries wide. Because yes, you can fit almost 4.5 football sceneries wide and 5 tall within this scenery, meaning it's 22 times the size of the football scenery, the biggest normal scenery that we have. And not only that, the classic scenery, if you're gonna upgrade from the classic scenery, this Clash of Dragons scenery is 60 times bigger. I mean, it's so big that they don't even let you interact with the village until you've zoomed in far enough. Then you can start clicking on buildings and collecting your loot. But once those little icons disappear, you can't do anything. Now, there's also something else that you won't be able to see until you zoom in far enough, and those are the interactive elements. Now, right here, you see this tower with the queen on top, and there's a symbol that popped up as I got closer to her. These interactive elements will just have these short little videos for each of the characters that they represent. This one is representing the queen skin that goes with this scenery. Now there are 4 total, 1 for each skin. So the queen's interactive element is near the top left. If you go over to the palace, right at the front gate, you'll find the royal champion or the paladin champion. She has another one of these interactive elements which you can click, which basically shows her putting all her armor on and getting ready to guard the palace, presumably. The third one is over on the right side, down near this gigantic warden statue, because that is the warden's skin, and the warden himself is standing over on the very right tower. As you zoom in, you see that icon pop up again, and this one is the warden and his little baby dragon pet fighting a super dragon. And you may have noticed that these interactive elements also have custom sound effects. Everything here seems to have custom sound effects. Now, we've seen the queen, we've seen the champion, we've seen the warden, and of course, we can't forget about the king, which is down on the bottom left on top of this biggest red building. He's on this expo, this giant expo, and if you click his, it's him going head to head against an E-Drag. So those are the 4 interactive elements that we have in this scenery. Who knows how many we're going to get in future sceneries, how big future sceneries are going to be, or how many more transitional elements or custom icons they're going to have. But the 5th thing that sets this apart from a normal scenery is the custom Super Troop sauna and trader's tent. All the other sceneries tend to have a custom boat, airship, and forge, but none of them have the custom Super Troop sauna and trader. And this is the only one so far. I don't know if this is going to be exclusive to legendary sceneries because it seems like something they could feasibly do for everything else. Now, number 6 could be subjective because it's not explicitly mentioned, but when I look at this scenery, there is so much happening. There's constant animations, constant effects happening, and I'm gonna say that this one just has way more animations than any other scenery. I mean, there's these ships flying around, there's dragons constantly flying everywhere, shooting fire, this expo is constantly turning, there's a bunch of tiny elements, like all these goblins that are launching mortars with bombs in them, and then down here in the mine, these goblins are constantly mining. There's a bunch of ruckus up here in the palace where barbarians, archers, and goblins are constantly running around. And that's just half, maybe even less than half of all the animations that are constantly happening, not to mention the clouds that are just floating by. For such a large scenery, to have something happening everywhere you look is a crazy feat. Now, with all that said, you probably want to know when you can buy this and how much it's going to cost. Well, let's start with the easy part. It's releasing on September 11th, 2024. Now, will it return in future years? They haven't said for sure, but I would be super surprised if they didn't bring it back. I mean, it's an epic scenery and they probably want to make money off it, to be honest. Okay, now the price. You probably want to sit down for this one. USD, this is going to cost $33. Yeah, wow. That is almost 5 times more expensive than any other scenery that we have. So, would you rather buy 5 sceneries or one gigantic legendary scenery? If I handed you $33 right now, would you buy 5 sceneries or this one? Comment down below because I'm actually really curious. I don't know how I feel about $33. I mean, I'm gonna buy it just because that's what I do. I can see how they would justify this because it's a huge scenery. It took a ton of work. I can't even imagine. And it's such a good scenery. It's high quality and it has so many extra elements, but it's also a lot of money. I don't know if I could recommend this to everybody for $33. Now, I want to show you the 4 environments that are in the scenery, and then I want to show you a few little details that caught my attention. Now, the first big environment you'll notice is the palace. That's number 1, the palace up in the top right. Now, it kind of stops at this wall here, and it stops over here at the village where you start to go into the forest. Now, the second part of this scenery are the mines down at the bottom. Starting at this wall and all this dark gray stone, you have mines here at the bottom where goblins are mining crystals and gold, it looks like. And by the way, each of these have a hero designated to them. The champion is obviously at the palace, the warden is down here guarding the mines, and the third environment is what I'm gonna call the desert outpost. This looks like where they prepare to fight these dragons, and we've got a lot of battle stations, and we've got this giant expo where the king is actually the one assigned to this theme. In number 4, we've got the village. The village is in the forest with a bunch of these houses built in the trees, and obviously the queen is assigned to this part of the scenery where a lot of the troops are gonna live. Now, there are a few really fun elements that I noticed. First is a goblin over on the right side, which you'll notice is in a tube. He drops down the waterfall, pretty dangerous, but just wait. He goes under the bridge, and then it looks like he's gonna go down into this pool and then kind of float around in this pool, but wait for it. As he comes around the bend, you'd expect him to keep going down the river, but there's a waterfall and he just drops, and then watch, he just disappears. I don't know where he went. You would think he would drop out of the bottom of this island or something, but he's just gone. He's gone. I also found a few bananas. One is on the second tower from the left, right in the center at the top there. We've also got one down in this biggest vent on the right side of the scenery. And then we have one in the gold mine near the bottom. Another thing I wanted to point out is on the bottom of the palace, we've got this dark cave with the bars over top of it. And after a while, you'll see the E-Drag come out that they've locked up. Now, what would I rate this scenery? Well, I can't really rate it against other sceneries because this is the first legendary scenery, and because this is the only legendary scenery, I also can't rate it against other legendary sceneries. So I'm just gonna rate the design of this scenery overall. I would rate it S tier. I have no problems with this scenery. Everything is high quality and looks super clean.